HO Talk Show.
I to the ism, H to the ism talk show. Sir Charles Razor.
Yeah.
Yeah, back like we never left. In the booth in the building with none other than Mr. Joseph Patterson. And he is he was awarded a Teacher of the Year award, and he is employed over at City of Charlottesville High School. Your one and only high school in the city of Charlottesville, may I add, because that is very important. That's very important.
Absolutely.
Yes, indeed. And so, Joseph, thank you for joining us. Good sir.
Yeah,
man.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Good to be here.
Yes, indeed. And I must say, I wanted to start this by saying, I appreciate you accepting the invitation because, like just myself being at the school and like seeing your interaction, it does my heart a great joy, because some of us, may come volunteer and whatnot, but for you to have the full-time duty and responsibility of taking care and being a model for our young Black men in particular. Now, of course, all students, every, race, age, and what have you, but to see a strong Black male presence, I, can't applaud you enough. So, so thank you for that.
Thank you so much.
Are you Joe Clark with the dreads?
Some days I feel like I want to be Joe Clark.
I can imagine.
We need a little Joe Clark energy.
No doubt.
So now for the folks that don't know, did that award come to you as a surprise? Give us a little background on the process. Did you have to be nominated, or was it by the teachers, by the students? Give us some background on that.
Yeah. So. To be quite honest, I think a lot of people who saw there's a video on Facebook, that was shared with me receiving, the notification of the award. And so my whole face, I was completely shocked.
Yeah.
And it came from the teachers.
Oh, okay.
So
awesome.
The teachers nominated me, but yeah, I was completely shocked. As you can tell by my face, because the lady I work with, Holly Faulkner, I think they ran in the room and told her right before they was going to make the announcement. So she was recording, and I looked like what is this? What's happening? But yeah, I'm super super grateful and honored to represent.
Yeah, that is awesome, man. And of course, for, I can imagine for the teachers to know that you would be the one to recognize, that means that they see your impact on the students. So what does it mean to you?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. And this is what I tell people flat out. I tell them I don't have to wait, to receive the award. Yes, I do Teacher of the Year every year. I do Teacher of the Year. In my engagement, in my interactions with the students.
I like that. And
so, to receive, the recognition, not that I have to receive it or not that I'm working to receive an award. It's, I take it and I wear it as representative of the hard work that we do every day.
Yes, indeed.
That 110% that we bring, every single day.
Yes, indeed.
I grew up in Orange County. I never had a Black male teacher, right? I had one person, Mr. Carter, who was in charge of the bad kids, right? Down at the end of the hall when you got sent to in-school suspension, right? How difficult, I'm just saying, how difficult is it to see our young males that don't appreciate the fact that they have a Black teacher educating them?
So I think, to that, most of the students that I get, I'm the very first Black male teacher that they ever had,
right?
And oftentimes, I'll probably be the only Black male teacher that they'll have from their time in compulsory education. Part of it, though, this is the issue, because oftentimes, even sometimes with the white teachers, they'll say, well, you're Black, you can connect with them easily because you're Black. Part of the issue, though, is those Black kids, they are checking me at the door in the beginning of the school year.
Right.
They want to know, are you Black enough
to
really understand the struggle, or have you been too whitewashed to really, and disconnected from our struggle? So they're asking questions. Have you even gone to college? The kids are asking me.
Right, because most times you're a substitute.
Right. Have you even gone to college? Do you have a degree? Do you have teacher license? They critique everything from head to toe.
Yeah.
What are you wearing today? So everything is checked. And so even after that, then they have to when they see the obstacles and the things that I've overcome, oftentimes it's so far, out of their reach. Yeah. So they kind of see it as hope, but sometimes it's also outside of their reality to be even, obtain some overcome the obstacles that I did as well.
Absolutely. Because you got to remember, Charles. Yeah. Charles enlightened me to some stuff years ago, right? The fact that you come and you speak with a dialect of education. Yeah. That disconnect will come because sometimes we have to talk with slang. We have to cuss. We have to let our pants hang so that we feel accepted, even though that might not be the child that we are internally or want to be. Yeah. So how do you find the ability? Charles did it with me. I didn't know how to look, real talk. When I started being on boards and stuff, I called Charles to figure out how to dress so I didn't look like I was going to court. Charles will never tell that story. I'll tell it. Right. I called Ty Cooper to get my clothes pressed because I'm like, I ain't got enough time to iron. He's like, take him to the laundromat and get them pressed. I'm like, what are you talking about? Yeah. Now, this is somebody, I had 6 figures in the bank, but that's not what I came from. So teaching our youth, our young Black youth, who most of them are being raised by the women in the home, even if a man is there, because most of our community, the father and mother are not the father and mother of every child in that house. Right. So the mom will fall into a protective role if we say, no, this is what a man needs. Yeah. Well, that's not what my baby needs. Right. So then she'll go to a man that's not in her house to say, teach my child the same lesson that he's trying to teach, but I needed to come from you because we're too close here. How do you balance the education part to making the connection for them feeling comfortable enough to trust you at the same time?
Yeah, that's that there is a lot of finesse to be able to do that, to be honest with you. And so part of the struggle for me is the issue is I don't have the issue mainly with the Black male. Like they often connect, we connect very quickly in most cases. Because I am not only am I the first Black male educator, but just, a solid Black male in general, in their life, consistent. And part of the other thing, the misnomer is, teacher of the year, cool Black teacher, as if I'm just going to allow you to come into the space and I'm going to lower expectation. No, when you come in, my expectations are high. We raise the bar, we raise the expectation, and to have you come to that level, the misnomer that our kids want to be lackadaisical, they need structure. Yeah. And so to have that structure and that solidarity, and you got to be consistent every day with it, Yes, indeed. And so then that wins their trust and the connection. Yeah. They're able to connect because they see the consistency.
They see the realness.
They see the realness, right?
That's one thing I noticed. Yeah. It's like no matter who you are you real? Yeah. Are you true?
That doesn't matter if admin come in or something. I don't have to switch up the flow because you're already getting the high expectation from day one. So I don't have to change gears or, code switch when another teacher or somebody come in. No, this is what you're going to get all the time. If I see you in the hall, and I have to check a behavior, it's because I've checked the behavior in the classroom. I don't have to, it's not performative based. It's the character and the value that I have across the board every time, every encounter that we have. Yeah.
Now speaking of that, and I think the connection there is, as you mentioned, like your journey and then them learning your journey. So tell us a little bit more about that background as far as what led you into wanting to be in the education field and educating our young people.
I don't oftentimes I don't get an opportunity to share this. Okay. And I think that's where this is where the conflict arises with many teachers who are not Black or brown. Because it's like, well, Pat, you're here, you're there. They call me Pat. Okay. You made it, but at what cost? And so for me, I grew up in Buckingham. My dad, he had 16 brothers and sisters. My grandparents had 17 children.
Big country family.
Oh, yeah. And so, but all of them dropped out of school. Not only dropped out of school, all of them, majority of them are illiterate. They cannot read or write. So I had a lot of first cousins, males. We have a lot of males in my family. And so I grew up having to read my dad his mail. Wow. Just only seeing him being able to just write his name in cursive and not knowing just basic, literacy and basic fundamentals of just reading. I was in those I had a speech impediment as a kid. I was in those. I spent in the literacy buildings in the chapter classes where you were taken out into the trailers to read and write. But as I grew up, I used to practice reading in the mirror so that I wouldn't stumble over my words or jumble my words. But what really led me into education is just that. I got tired of seeing, my family being impacted negatively by the lack of education. But my parent, he promoted my dad, my parents, they promoted education. And so I wanted to see like what it looked like to really address the whole child at every different level in all the disciplines, to see it like all work and come together for the whole of the child. And it was that struggle, of seeing all of my male, most of my male cousins, all are felons. All of them, they had children and left their children. My dad's a felon. My two older brothers are felons. They all quit school. So that was my drive, and that's what led me. And so being able to share that story with some of the students, it's just like wow. I shouldn't be. I get to be here. I get to do this work. I get to do this job because of that. And I'm privileged by that. Those kids are me. They are me. They are my cousins. They are my sister. All of that. I mean, I could go on, but that's the
appreciate that.
That's why I do what I do.
I really appreciate you saying that. Thank you, y'all. I just got asked this morning to come into the Piedmont region, Charlottesville, Greene County, Orange County, to help with the Christian athletes, right? So Charlottesville is one of the places that was was brought to me. I'm thankful. I'm a felon, right? I just was able to, God allowed me to take my experiences and turn them into legitimate business. He put the right people around me that knew I was going to listen to what they were saying. It might not have impacted the next person, but let me get to the point I'm trying to make. Because those jewels were around me, Charles being one of them, that sowed into my life, like after I looked like I'm established, right? I had a hustler's mindset up to a certain point, but in order to get to where I'm at now, I had to be willing to listen and learn. When it comes to what you do at the high school, and you see white teachers, young white females that may not have the most experience with black males, how do you find the balance between advocating for those gentlemen and not being the one who is the obstruction for the learning inside the school, and then you get judged and then you get pushed out? How you doing, Dr. Pitts? Hope you're doing good somewhere.
Yeah, man. I mean, that is the challenge. You got 80% of teachers in this country are female or white female. The black male is only it's the average is less than 2% of black males that are who are teachers, who are educators in this country. And part of the challenge is just that, one, I have, it's the same struggle. I have to help navigate that image with the students also, while having to protect it from myself as well. Having to navigate and having to dismiss the stereotype of being a black male myself amongst my colleagues. Not only do the kids G-check me, the staff do too. I've been there for 8 years. And my first year there, those teachers were asking me, do you have teaching license? Asking questions about my hair and different things of that nature, and having to, overcome those stereotypes myself. So what I do is when I get in meetings, and I hear conversations leaning that way, I have the privilege and the opportunity to be able to correct and to bring insight. Be able to pull from my own experience and say, like, look, I was in that same position. Growing up. I mean, guidance counselors didn't reach out to me. So I provide safe spaces for the students there. I have students that I connect with that I've never taught, and they come in my classroom every single day. I've never taught them. It's by word of mouth, and they trickle. I've had some of those same white teachers also tell me, though, why don't you just lock your door? Why do you allow them to keep coming in? Why don't you just lock your door and just let them come in when the bell ring? Yeah, so it's a never going, it's a never going battle.
I can imagine. So
to balance.
Yeah, so one of the things that stood out to me from the teacher town hall that you all did was that you emphasize that there are children. Because some people comment and they say those kids or stuff like that. But but you made sure that everybody knew, like, no, like this is a public school,
right?
So they're the public's children. They are children, right? So that, following what you just said, like I have to ask, what do you see the need, like the need is, or the needs are? Because I can imagine like that you're a very regimented person, like probably goal oriented, I would imagine. So when you plan for a school day and maybe a fight happened yesterday and maybe kids say, all right, you wait till tomorrow, maybe you heard something like that, and the image of our children in the city high school and whatnot. But like you said, you also experience some of the same prejudice that the kids are experiencing. Like, so what's your approach like to that, daily school environment?
You have the school environment. You also have, you have your own space as an educator. I try to have, my space be a safe space that is accepting to all, but it's also, I also try to keep it real. Like, I know sometimes we shun away from, if something happened, a big issue, our students are the first line of defense. And so, we spend that first few months, those first 2 or 3, those first 2 or 3 months really like building that relationship. And so when stuff happened, I asked the kids, and then we were able to, be able to use the relationship that we have built to be able to have conversation in the classroom, and it's no one size fit all approach to having the conversation, but it's also, you don't get a pass too just for being Black. We build in there accountability. We build in there, what some corrective action, what could we have done different, different things to really engage what happened and how do we move forward.
You ready?
Go ahead.
Have you ever met an unreachable child?
Oh my goodness, man. Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, let me first go. Before coming here, I worked at Elk Hill.
Okay.
And that's an alternative school,
right?
And the behaviors we would see. It was definitely more animated. It was fights every other day. We were all trained to break up fights. One principal we got, Dr. Hurd, black man, he accepted a position there. His first day on the job, he got his window, broken out. So like, a child, that's the goal. It's just like, you want to reach every kid in some way. We're leaving imprints, and you want to make a mark. You're not going to win them all. Some plant, some water, and then, they'll get increased as they go. But yeah, I've had students that come to my class, and I'll give you one. He's a student at an alternative placement now. That student came to my class, and he would not come into my class 4 months straight. Literally, he'd come in, he'll look around, kind of make an assessment. He'll go in the hall. 4 months straight would not come into. And I don't even know to this day even what clicked and made him eventually started coming in. But it wasn't until a co-teacher that I was working with wasn't there that day. So I think he came in like, let me see what's going on. A black male student. And then it was just like we clicked. And then immediately we started, having a relationship. I've also had students that come to me and they just were not having it. They would transfer out of my class. And it's just like, man, like, and it's unfortunate, you win some, you lose some, hopefully you win more than you lose. I get a few every year who transfer out. It's just like, and I think it's culturally based too. Some white, some Black. But go ahead.
I was gonna say, it even sounds like if you were saying that teacher's aide or whoever it wasn't there, maybe that was the problem. Maybe they didn't feel comfortable around that person.
Okay, could be right. So many different factors. But my Black female students, man, that's where the greatest work is for me. I'm gonna be honest with you. And back to a point where you were saying earlier about like, not having black male presence.
Yes.
And so I don't know if sometimes like, what the projection is. Because the girls ask me, you got 3 kids. Are they all by the same? Right. Are they all by the same woman?
Right.
Or do you got 3 different babies? No, I have a wife. So I'm having to correct that, that conversation. And so there's so much I have to work tooth and nail to win my black female students.
Yeah, for sure. So we're gonna go ahead and hit a break and come right back to you. Cool. All right. And I know Razor ready to go now. He ready to go. Like, so y'all don't want to miss that. And then we definitely gonna get into Mr. Patterson's thoughts on like what's needed from the community, from the community for the schools, and what's needed for particularly our young black students, but our students in general. So don't want to miss it. Much more with Mr. Patterson coming up next. IMHO Talk Show. IMHO Talk Show, Sir Charles Razor. We're in the booth in the building with none other than CHS Teacher of the Year, Mr. Joseph Patterson, aka Pat. Mr. Pat, like y'all are repping for Mr. Pat. I see it in the comments. I was telling him he's getting so much love here online.
Appreciate it.
Yes, indeed. Yes, and we appreciate it as well. Thank y'all for tuning in. So I'm going to kick it over to Razor because we were having of course this is a great conversation. Three, and we were talking even during the break, 3 black men getting together in a safe space
without it being a barbershop,
right? Without it being a barbershop, and we're broadcasting the conversation.
Yep.
Technically, we're there's no holds barred. We're because we care about our children, and we wanted to bring in Mr. Patterson. Like we all 3 are fathers, and what have you, and so this is very important, near and dear to all of us. So Razor.
All right, I'm gonna clean it up a little bit from what we talked about it earlier after I thought about it.
Appreciate that.
But yeah. My question being, okay, we were talking about the significance that you play for the black young male. Mm-hmm. I'm also known for being hard on the women on radio because I ask questions that need to be asked, in my humble opinion. But I also, people don't realize that I understand that the young lady who is confused and has no black male, for lack of a better word, ladies, leadership that she can respect.
Yep. Father figure.
Ends up dating older men looking for that father figure, or grows up, gets pregnant, raising her child by herself, teaching ladies, I'm sorry, bad doctrine. Bad doctrine into her boys.
Yeah. Or girl.
Who leads, it's more detrimental in the boy because she can always follow and look at auntie or grandma or, you know what I'm saying? Right, but we don't really see in our day the young boys out there with granddaddy busting wood, changing a tire, getting what man skills, so to speak. So how difficult is it for you in your position to reach the young African-American female so that she respects you, so that she learns respect for men as she grows older? Because there are a lot of bitter women who teach young girls that you have to be tough or you're going to get run over. And then they perpetuate that out on our community into our children. And then you got children that won't listen to black men.
Okay.
Well, I agree with that. Let me add a caveat to it.
Absolutely.
Same question, but like Razor and I know, because while I understand his perspective, like he knows like that I always try to bring him back to the center by saying, I feel like the black male is still ultimately at fault. Okay. And when I say ultimately, is because I believe that we have to perform better. And when I say perform, like just being men, being fathers, being husbands or boyfriends, whatever the case is. And then the women wouldn't have a problem trusting us. But we can't ask them to trust us till we get our stuff straight.
Do you know more? Pat, I love this. I'm glad y'all brought me back today. And Miss Max. This is the thing. You said it about your family.
Yes.
They were incarcerated. They're felons, right? I don't know. No, for lack of a better word, I'm gonna use a Trumpish issue.
Man, you really going deep.
The animals don't run the zoo. So if you're in the cage, you can't do but so much. Yeah. Once you get that felony on you, you're limited to what you can do in normal standards.
Yeah.
So at that point, our sisters have to step up.
Right.
You know, it's not even about if the men can.
Yeah.
Like they have a mark on their back. They're targeted at that point.
Yeah.
So I agree with you.
The women need to be understanding.
They need to be understanding, and they're not, because when we get money as men, we figure out how we can take care of our family. Yeah. When women get money, they decide what they ain't got to listen to no more. I said it. Boycott me. This ain't my show, no how.
All right, Mr. Patterson, you got to step in and break us up.
I know. I'll say this. You know, I think at the crux of our society, you know, when we look down the breakdown of the family, you know, I think the family is one of the things that keep the fabric of our society. You know, it's the glue. When you have the father, the male in his role, the woman in her role, that's what keeps it all together. Any type of deviation from that, it you know, this is what it ends up. This is, and what we see in society, this is the symptom of that.
Right.
You know, and so
but that's not popular nowadays.
It's right. It's not. And we see oftentimes in many of those cases as well, you know, those single mothers, they have to depend on the grandparents who overcompensate in ways. And that's assuming that sometimes the grandfather is there. You know, you'll have the single mother with the grandmother who have to overcompensate because the male is not there. And this, of course, this is a bigger conversation.
Right.
But we do see it seep into education.
Yeah.
I do have a much difficult time, you know, reaching the Black female students much more, you know, and it is a challenge because I get a lot of, you know, I do get pushed back a lot, you know, because again, the expectation is there's no, you know, it's equal opportunity, you know, the expectation is high, and this is the expectation. And I often get the, who are you? Who do you think you are? Right. You're not my dad. Yep, you know, and combat it with all the other questions of, you know, hopefully you take care of your, you know, hopefully you take care of all of your kids and all of that. And that has to come from somewhere.
It comes from somewhere.
That comes from somewhere. And I know we're not gonna be able to solve it all right here on the radio, but it does. You know, I've had conversation. I mean, and not to really go into a whole lot of it, but you know, talking to some of their parents as well. Talking to some of the single mothers as well. And, you know, having to, you know, be harmless as a dove, you know, but wise as a serpent, and how you really address and how you really, you know, win people over with kindness.
Yeah, it's complex.
It is. It's a big challenge. And I have students even this year who, you know, they're a little rough around, but being consistent, you got to be consistent. You gotta don't deviate from the expectations that you set, and don't compromise, you know.
It's gotten bad with social media and whatnot. Is that what I notice is that a lot of times our sisters don't listen to you, even if they're not benefiting from it, unless you have receipts. So unless you make money, you have good education, or you're cute.
Right.
Women ain't gonna listen to no ugly man.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Let's keep it about the kid.
It is about the kid. Because at that point, well, think about it, Charles. If they're not going to listen to an ugly man, that makes people present themselves on social media differently than what they are. It makes them go get enhancements, get eyelashes as long as a bat, lips, BB, all that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean,
hey, Mr. Patterson. So
somebody said something.
Yeah, so we have a Miss Williams that chimed in. Said Miss Williams said send him to D219.
Yeah,
and she will help.
Right, she said send the girls to D219.
Okay, the girls.
Okay. I was talking about that with me.
No. She's an educator at the school as well.
Thank you, Ms. Williams.
Yes, indeed, and Ms. Brown. Thank y'all.
Oh yeah. And honestly, like we work together for real. Like we got each other's back. You know, Ms. Williams, Pam Brown. I mean, you know, they'll definitely tighten up the girls. And this is the thing though, the girls, they respect Miss Williams. They respect Charmaine. I mean, we have some of the same kids, and I've gone into her class, and you know, when she says something, it's like, oh, okay, yeah. But they'll give me a little bit more pushback.
But Pat,
you know?
how can we have a community that grows when they don't respect the men in their community? I don't know of another community that the male figures aren't respected. and revered, and that community not suffer.
Right.
So that's what we're getting at.
Yeah,
like,
with
but
the
I don't know how
education
we go.
part.
Yeah.
How do we do that, Joe? Like, I don't understand.
Well, and I think, to honest, I mean that this is a for real a different conversation that I mean, you know, maybe it's something I'd love to be a part of. But I mean, I do agree with Charles too, in the sense that, you know, if we got kids who are not if we got young girls who are not respecting the men, it's because there's adults that's not respecting men as well, the black men. And so there is I think back to your point too about like how, you know, the women are when they get their money, it's almost like,
don't get in trouble for it.
I know, but I do want to say, because and you did say about my family. Well, I'll take it to my family for one point. You know, at the time when I was serving in the military, I was in the military, and you know when my brothers got incarcerated, you know, it immediately left the women in their lives with children, and they became immediately single mothers, you know, in their early 20s. My sister would eventually also become a single mother. You know, and so I've had firsthand experience, like kind of seeing and navigating how, you know, oftentimes, you know, them trying to build an empire, and then it's like I can see where they've had the struggle of having, like, okay, if I find somebody, am I gonna like take my crown off and turn it over to somebody who you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna throw my crown off and they'll accept, you know, a king or you know this joker to come in. It's just like, you know, is he going to carry it, or is he going to destroy everything and I've seen both, though. I've seen it both happen in both realms where, I've worked hard, got good credit, got everything set up, got everything established. Now I'm going to come in, now I want to dominate, you know? So I think, I honestly think it's twofold, honestly, you know, there has to be give and take. There's no 50-50, you know. There's 100. You got to bring 100%. From both sides. From both sides, you got to bring it. That's what make, you know, my relationship with me and my wife. You know, our marriage. We'll celebrate 19 years in April. You know, that we've been married. That takes 100%. Both bringing it. You know, educating 3 black boys. I got 3 black boys. You know, that I'm educating, and so they have to. They have to see it. They have to see it lived out. We can't. My wife's an educator too at Jackson Via. She's a therapist. I'm a licensed therapist, LPC. So you know they have to see, like, well, I can't be at school saying I'm saving the world, but my family is, you know, is in a disarray.
That's deep. Thank you.
You know, I mean, it's super challenging, man. I mean, you know, and we look at all these issues of we need education on all. We need institute, you know, in our community that's teaching relationship. We need all of that, like teaching relationship, ethics, you know, finance, economics, all of these different things to help us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because I was about to ask you exactly that. I was going to ask, because, you know, so many people point the finger at the school, right? But I'm curious on like how much is needed from the community, whether that be city council, like approving a budget for certain things, you know, what have you. So I definitely want your take on that. Like would you hope for the school to do better, and what you hope for community members, parents to do better?
So I'll start with the home. Because, you know, I think it starts at home and then it spreads out. I think, and this is the issue, because, you know, we see the struggle that educating black students, not just black. I mean, that's just the nature of the conversation. But you know, majority of the students I do teach are black.
That's interesting. I wouldn't have guessed that.
Honestly. Yeah. So, you know, part of it is what I'm offering at school should not be primary. This should be supplemental to what's happening at home. Absolutely. And you know what I'm saying? So we get them for a few hours a day, and we're leaving an imprint. Hopefully, or you know, we hear the adage, it takes a village. Well, the school shouldn't be the primary, you know, builder of that village. We shouldn't be the primary promoter. What we're offering, it should be supplemental, so that if I have to call home, you know, it's not a foreign language to, like, you know, well, I can't get Johnny to do the X, Y, and Z, and he won't listen. Well, first of all, don't nobody tell my child
there
what to
you
do.
go.
You know what I'm saying?
There you go.
So it's like, it should be supplemental. And so we can't expect, you know, we can't expect even if you want to take it political, we can't throw money at this situation and expect it to, that something's going to, we can't expect the community to do what we're not willing to do.
Do y'all notice that when you gave the situation, I don't know if you inherently meant to do it or not, but the response that you gave about nobody telling Johnny what to do was coming from the mothers.
Oh, yeah.
Going back to agreeing with Charles.
That proves your point.
Proves your point is that it does fall on the men's responsibility if he doesn't even know what his teachers' names are.
Oh, my goodness.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I know guys, y'all might get upset at me right now. That's
okay.
But if you don't know your teachers, the students, your child's teachers, there's an issue.
Right.
In Orange County, I'm going to be transparent.
Yeah.
I have a problem with the mother of my children, but I have the information where I know all my child's grades, all his teachers, even though I have to fight to be part of my child's life, right? And by all standards, I'm not a factor at all, right? Because everything is being blocked. But I know every grade he gets. I know all of his teachers. I know his sports. I got to do it from the gaze of from across the street so that there isn't a controversy, because most children will side with mom even when mom isn't always correct. You know what I'm saying? Which in turn may make him push away or gravitate to you because of the male figure in the household. You know?
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
I mean that's the thing. That is the part. We say, the community, what can the community do? Right. Have the primaries, the ones who can. In the kids' life, show up to those school board meetings, show up to those community forums and those different things. Know the kids' teachers, know what bus they ride. You know what I'm saying? Just different. Know what route if they walk to school. Know their just the basics. You got to go from the simple to the complex. And we want the community to do great. The community thing, honestly, we just went through this whole back in November. I mean, Charlottesville was hit pretty hard with all of the imagery of what it is to work at the city school, to do the reset and all this different stuff.
Where, may I add, same stuff, if not more, happens in county schools
everywhere.
But for some reason, the city gets painted different. I just wanted to point that out.
And it's nationwide. It is a challenge to be an educator today. It's very different from even when we were in school. But I forgot where I was going with that.
I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're good. But the community in terms of like, I mean the negativity that came from what happened at the school. We got the fights and all of this, and the community has jumped on the bandwagon of like fueling this like negative image, and it's just like, man, that's why we had the public forum with the teachers,
right?
And what many people don't know is that the teachers that were selected to be on there, I guess, weren't the teachers that were supposed to, that they thought, because many organizers of that event, they wanted us to go in there. There were people that pulled us aside before the event and was giving us all this prompting of what we were supposed to talk about. We was like, nah, we for the kids. We don't have an agenda. Well, talk about this. Talk about SROs. There's money in here. There's money in this audience. And we're like, we ain't thinking money's great. We need the resources, but what you can't throw money and to fix this issue,
right?
And so that's why when we got it, we was like, we're gonna talk about our experience. We're not getting up here talking about anything negative, or you're not going to control, And so even afterwards, people from the community they said, y'all don't realize that y'all saved the night. You had. This conversation was supposed to go in a completely different direction, but y'all saved the night because they got our perspective, boots on the ground.
Am I wrong? Because I know you said it takes a village, it takes a community. Am I wrong? Because I don't want the village and the community around my kids. Like, honestly, when I see people's agendas,
but we got to fix it. That's what we say. We got to fix the family.
But we ain't gonna fix it on my kids. Like, I'm being honest about that.
I got you.
I understand it takes a village and a community, but when I see how you conduct yourself when you don't think nobody's watching, you can't be around my children. You know what I'm saying? So I try to keep my children around the people that they know and can trust.
Right.
Because if it ever comes a time that I have to say, no, don't listen to him publicly in front of somebody, I'm going to do it.
Oh, yeah.
I don't even give it a second card not to do that.
Yeah.
So if you are complaining about the school system and the teachers, and you do not go to any school board meetings or anybody, you're not sending somebody because you got to work.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I can't trust you with my legacy.
Right.
Oh, you know, that's just me.
Yeah.
Oh, no, yeah.
And Ms. Williams echoed you
about
to Pat about she said money can't fix the systemic issue. She said that's the issue. No one wants to be in the village or the community for real. That's the root of the issue with Black families. No one wants anyone to say anything to their children, like you also alluded to.
Oh
earlier.
yeah, like we get to define what the village is. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the whole point. Like,
Explain
you know,
that.
like so like part of my village could be, you know, starts with me and mine. Mm-hmm. And it could be the people and who's in that circle, you know, grandparents, you know, church leaders, people in the civic community leaders, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking political or, you know, governmental. I'm talking about in how we have, you know, it's like
the development.
Right. We create that. We think about, we look at how different, you know, the Black church was in the 60s.
Yeah, it was cornerstone.
Right. It was where we got our finance, you know, literacy from, our education. That's the Black church is what prompted, you know, the whole HBCU. You know, our preachers were involved, and they were community advocates, you know. So we have institute. You know, we had institute. And so I heard somebody say, you know, one time they said, you know, think about neighborhoods and whatever, you know, whatever village is, whatever. They said, no, we don't have no more neighborhoods. You know, all the neighbors have left and all we got left is hoods, you know. So it's like, where is the institute in our Black communities? Whatever that village is, we created. We established it.
So going back to what you said earlier about the school not being the place you should be supplemental.
Right.
Maybe you are now. Maybe meeting the people where they are means that it is the school. I know you might not have looked at it that way, but based off of what you just now told me, it might not have been constructed in its origin to be that way.
Yeah.
But let's just say, okay, with everything that has happened, the school might be the closest thing to a safe space, because if you're raising your village with your parents, grandparents to build your children are part of the school system. I'm seeing how your children act and I'm seeing where they're getting it from. Why would I not want that?
Right. So I think, I mean, you think of the school system, I think it is inadvertently is a part of our village, whether we want it or not. You know what I'm saying? Because it's the public school education. I mean, and that's the bigger conversation of, you think about segregation and desegregation, like, you know, the integration of schools in the 60s and how that has shifted and changed the dynamic of how our Black students are educated. That's the bigger conversation. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, prior to integration, they had Black principals and Black educators and Black. When the integration happened, tens of thousands of Black principals and educators lost their job. Because why? They didn't want Black teachers and educators teaching their students.
Right. Integration is the worst thing that could have happened to our people. I'll say it for you. You know what I'm saying? Integration is the worst thing because we were supposed to integrate our money. We were never supposed to integrate our Black bodies. Yeah. You know, so that's the reality of the situation. And even when somebody had put a post on my feed today about mixed children will fix racism and things of that nature.
Is that what they say?
And I publicly am going to say, I don't think that is the case, because you still have, just because I'm of two different origins does not mean I have to turn my back on one or the other in order to survive. And I think that's where our children that are mixed, not just Black and white, but mixed in general, have the toughest time, because society tells you that you have to choose.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You have to choose which one that you are. Or if, you know, let's say mom is Caucasian, dad is Black, more often than not, you see that Black male separate himself from his culture. Yeah. Because he wants to advance and be viewed a certain way. He doesn't want to be a certain stigma. Even though that stigma may be what makes him happy inherently, he knows that it has a shelf life and can only go so far. And those are conversations that really end up in school, because when you decide what groups that you're going to, let's say the majority of your students weren't Black, and you have to start pairing people together.
Yeah.
Well, that child that's being paired in the Black group that's non-Black has to go home, and if mom and dad ask them, what are you working on? And they say, well, just for lack of a better purpose, Jamal and whatever, the female, I don't want to, nobody feel like I'm talking about their child, is part of my group. That parent might say, well, shoot, what is the education of the parents? Do they believe in? So it becomes about something else. Now that child can't even learn properly. They can't learn collectively together because of their outside influences.
Right. Yeah. And Charmaine chimed in too, to the point, saying not with schools being pipelines to prison. Some schools aren't safe enough for Black and brown children. And I'm not talking about just physically safe.
Right.
That's deep.
Man, you said a lot in it. Like a lot of points you made is many points that were made by by Booker T. Washington. Booker T. Washington, a lot of his education philosophy was like, you kind of stay with the system, kind of work your way up, and kind of like you just assimilate and just kind of like do what you got to do, but assimilate. But
they cut his stuff off, right?
Yeah.
Didn't they castrate? I would have said it too.
Booker T. Washington.
I think so. I think they castrated that man so that they wouldn't mess with his daughter. I would say what you want me to say too.
But see, that was the issue between him and W.E.B. Du Bois.
Right.
See, he was like, we needed a more aggressive approach, and
But he had all his tools though.
Who? Go ahead, Pat. Don't worry about it. Go ahead. Go ahead, Pat.
I got. Did you know that Booker T. Washington's father was white? His father was white.
Okay. I think I heard that.
His mother was white. I mean, his mother was Black. Father was white. Booker T. Washington. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. And so that him and W.E.B. Du Bois had it was a little bit of conflict with W.E.B. Du Bois had conflict with Booker T. Washington's philosophy, and part of what you talk about the code switching, that's what W.E.B. Du Bois was saying. Like the black man have this two-ness about himself, this double consciousness. You have to be aware of who you are and code switch. We call
that woke.
Right. He's two ideas, two thoughts, two theories that we have to be constantly mindful of.
Yeah, they code switch.
Right. And knowing how to and I have to do it now, with all of my paternal aunts and uncles being illiterate, when I get around them, they like go on, get on out here with all this proper stuff. You got to talk the language,
for sure.
And be able to navigate back and forth, between the two.
Yeah. Thank you, man. Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are joined by none other than City Teacher of the Year, Mr. Joseph Patterson. And thank y'all all for chiming in and being a part of this conversation. Look, hey, we even got Mr. Pitt online. What's up, Rashad? Rashad Pitt corrected us, not Booker T. He is absolutely right. It was George Washington.
George Washington Carver. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, that's what I said. I got to corroborate.
Hey, Mr. Pitt, don't let this be the only time you start speaking to somebody when you want to correct somebody. I still call you out. And then let Charles block you online.
Yeah, but thank y'all. So I maybe like to kind of lead to wrapping up here. You mentioned, on how touchy of a subject, school resource officers are. But even that, and besides that, I'm curious on your take, because I think we kind of cut you off when you were in the middle of talking about what's needed at home versus the school.
Right.
So like when it comes to the school, and people saying, what are they doing over at that high school? Right. You know what I mean? Like that high school is off the chain, it's out of control.
Yeah.
Like you being on the inside and you hear that, like, what do you see that's missing, that's needed?
So just the school resource officer, I'll say this. If we look at the history of school resource officer, we can point back to the 1950s, I guess the early 1950s, Fresno, California. What was the whole purpose of having school resource officers? Because of the racial integration, and it fights were happening and all this stuff. It evolved over the years. That's where we get the DARE. We had the DARE program. That was another way. Then there was it's called the GREAT program. I forget what the acronym meant. So all of these were like different ways that it was just kind of brought about, but it started in the very beginning because of the divide between the races, during the talks of integration. But in terms of you were saying, like you said, go back to the what can the community.
Well, no, I feel like we touched on community and families, but the schools, as far as if there's anything missing when it comes to resource in the school, or like the type of teacher administrator, or I even hear people talking about like what do you think about the cell phone ban, or like locking all the doors, and I've heard all that kind of stuff. You know?
So I was on that district cell phone committee. I was on that. Me as well as Charmaine and Pam Brown from the comments there. Being on that cell phone committee, it turned into, I'm just going to be honest with you, it turned into, that committee showed where the racial divide was, just being on the cell phone committee. It was a conglomerate of, teachers from Beaufort and from Charlottesville High School. And just being around just being around the table and talking about our different perspectives as Black educators, we saw quickly how it's just like, whoa, wait a minute. One, we said, I'll tell you this, last year, my co-teacher, we worked together, Holly Faulkner. We teach Algebra 1. Many of the kids, when they come to the high school, I mean, man, it's what's 5 plus 3? We pulling out calculators, multiplication. No Child Left Behind, Bush administration. That's how we get the SOLs and all that. But that, we can get to that. But so the thing is like when we get the kids that come from Beaufort, we got to make $1 out of 15 cents. You know what I'm saying? And so the data that we were able to show from last year, from using the cell phone policy off and away, that phone zones and phone free zones. When they came into our class, the expectation was that you was to put your phone away. We were able to, out of about 63 kids, we had over 57 kids who passed the Algebra 1 SOL, the first SOL that they ever passed in their life.
Oh, wow.
And passed the class.
That's what it's about.
And so it's like, so I was on the cell phone committee. So I'm going to the committee. I'm like, man, look, like, if you just stay consistent for like 2 months straight, tell the kids, boom, 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 just be consistent. Because that's the problem that we were seeing. We were seeing that the teachers were not consistent with the policy. Right. And so, but, and it just opened up so much to where how Black educators educate and hold kids accountable and how we do things. We saw it was a vast difference. And so to one even told me, it was like, oh, well, of course you can do it. You're Black. They go. That's what a white teacher told me. It was like, oh, of course, the students will listen to you. You're Black, and so then I have to educate as if my skin is just going to help me self-actualize and cause the kids to fall into place. I'm like, no. I told you earlier, they're G-checking me. I got to go through. I got to get questioned on my credentials just to get to the starting level, just to earn the respect, and then build from there.
Yeah. So to make sure I'm clear, though. Was your committee for the ban or against the ban?
My thing was no. I don't think that having kids lock their phones up from the time the plan states that from the time they cross the door seal. When they get off the bus or walk to school or drive or whatever, when they cross the door seal, the phone should be off and away for the entire day. And, we was going to spend $30,000 on phone pouches to make it happen. And my question and my concern was, how do you get the phone in the bag in the first place? Who's going to regulate that? It's just insurmountable to think that you're going to, control the classroom. The power's in the classroom with the teacher. And so we see, and I don't want to say, of course, we all have different, education philosophies and how we conduct our classroom. There's a lot of things that could be changed. We definitely need more teachers of color. Studies show that when students of color have more representation, that they perform well, even early on in the early years in the elementary level. We need more representation, because when a lot of people see me from the community, when I wear Charlottesville clothing and go out in the community, the number one question I always get, what do you coach?
Yeah, you already knew that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's the number one question. Right. You know, shout out to the gym teachers and the coaches. Great.
Sure. Yeah, definitely throwing shade.
We're more than just shooting a hoop or catching a ball or running. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So do you feel like salary is still the main culprit behind that though? Because I feel like for so long, you know, like as the data shows, it's like a white female who probably has a husband who makes enough money. Job, salary based. Right. Like, so do we feel like that's still the problem? Teachers need to get paid more if you want to get.
I don't know any teacher that wouldn't take more money.
Right. I mean, I definitely like, is that the hiring problem though?
I think it can be, but it's just, man, you know, it's so much that there's one student that I had. He's in college right now, becoming a teacher. Even when he went to the school to do his student teaching. White teachers questioned why was he in the building. He had a badge and everything. It was like, "Are you lost? Are you supposed to be here?" He said, "I'm a student." And it's like, oh, like the so it's like it is money, but it's also, man, just being able to have voice and safe spaces. You know, when we had you know, Charmaine and I and Pam and many of us, you know, Mr. Pitt was there, man. It was like, for me, he was the second black male administrator that I've had in 15 years of teaching. And so I was able to feel more emboldened because it was only the black male administrators that I've had since I've been teaching that was able to like look in and hone in, like, man, like we got some here. Not because it's me, but it's like, man, this brother, like, let's get this brother, you know, do. So I'm like, all right, feel more emboldened. Like, let's get up there and do. That's right. And it's like, you know, it not only works for the students, but it's also work for the educators.
Are the white teachers scared of the black kids?
There's some fear. Yeah. I mean, okay. I'd be dishonest if I didn't say that there were some who was definitely afraid.
So if we use Charles' analogy by the fathers are you know, the fathers are in charge of the community, the families and everything. I don't want you to answer this, right? It goes back to when people are applying for jobs, that this is a question, like, are you fearful of these people? You know, because that is one of the things that will come out when they get scared. It say these people don't listen. These people don't do, you know what I'm saying? So when I said these people, I was trying to make sure that everybody had a physical response to my words, because this could be how your children are being looked at.
It is how they're looked at.
Right. Well, I don't have no heaven or hell to put nobody in, so I didn't want to make it certain. But these are one of the questions that when we hire people, just saying that we need people doesn't mean that you bring in somebody that is going to cause more trouble.
Yeah.
And I know, because if you can't relate, you just can't relate. Like, you can't put me to do brain surgeon. Yeah. Even though I'm not completely ignorant, but that's just not my thing. If I know that regardless of how well I did in school, but I'm fearful at the emotions or the responses of my students. Yeah. How effective of an educator can I truly be if I'm in survival mode while I'm in there?
Man, that you hit on something that this is what I always say. You got your HBCUs, you got your PWIs, predominantly white institution universities. They are not. Many of our educators are not prepared for that when they get to the school, and this is the thing. So it's like this is what I've been touting this for years. I said, we talk about multicultural. We talk about multi-ethnical. We're multi-ethnical, but we're not multicultural. What that means is many of our teachers who are not black or brown, they're getting their multicultural in real time from the kids. Their social circles are not multicultural. Right. Not even multi-ethnical. So it's like we're forced into these spaces. I mean, well, granted, most people in society, we navigate and we congregate with people of our same, but there's some who you got to do a little bit more if you want to get exposure to other cultures. Yeah. We got the multi-ethnical down, at our schools, but the multicultural is where we have the struggle.
I think that's the divide.
Why do we say black and brown? I don't mean to cut you off.
No, you can.
But I'll make sure they hear me. I don't understand when we're trying to fix these problems of our children, why we as black people always got to incorporate everybody else. I don't hear Afghanistan people referencing black and brown, like to bring us in. I don't hear Hispanic people referencing black and brown to bring us in. But it seems like in order for us to move the needle in everything that we do, we got to bring along somebody else to make sure that we move, right?
Yeah.
And the second that you say that, you get attacked, right? Because you're trying to cause division, right? So
that's a social construct. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But when you said it, it was like, man, why are we saying that?
I got you. I mean, and I can receive that. You know, I mean, I got you. I mean, I think we oftentimes we do conflate. We conflate. It's almost like, you know, we say a minority. Like, what is a minority? Is it somebody who's is a midget a minority? Is it somebody who got, you know, a physical disability? You know, and so I hear what you're saying. You know, instead of like clumping, our issues are specific, you know, to black people.
And in fact is people hijack the black plight for generations. It always happens.
Right.
But
I mean, even affirmative action, you know, affirmative action, the number one recipient of affirmative action
We'll get him started.
No, you good. I'm gonna stay on track. but Ms. Williams points out a great point that I was going to mention to your point, Mr. Patterson. She said teacher preparation programs do not equip teachers with that training, and I think she's talking about like being multicultural. And because I wanted your take on you know, diversity training, quote unquote.
Oh my goodness.
Okay. All right. Like, so we probably on the same page, because my thing is like I see Miss Brown commented, like, just like most professions, if you're good at it, then you're passionate about it, and that makes it a calling,
right?
Like calling on your life. Like, I have an issue, and I understand like that people need to know the right terminology or to be aware of things, that diversity training can help that. But I feel like that if a person doesn't have a heart to accept and treat people fairly, you can't train that.
Right. It goes back to what I was saying earlier, the multicultural piece. It's like, you know, well, if we got students that come in and they're loud, you know, I'm not threatened by, you know, black students being loud. I mean, we get with our people, man. We loud, we laugh, and it's like, all right, you know.
Can I tell you something funny?
Oh, go ahead.
Because I've told Razor this before. Like, so it wasn't until I traveled to Africa the way I understood that. Yeah. Because me being in Africa, I was like, damn, these people loud. like, because I don't understand the language. Like, so everybody sound like they're yelling at each other. And I'm like, it's probably how white people think we sound. Yeah. Like,
I'm sure.
I'm being real. I'm being real.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, for real. Like, you know, that's my dad and my uncles, man. When they get, I mean, it's just like, it's loud.
Especially from the country.
Oh, yeah. Like, everybody loud, you know. But it's like, you got to do the work though. The diversity training, all that a lot of that stuff is, you know, it's political. It checks the boxes. This is what we got to do. We said we did it, you know. But you still walk around a school. I mean, do you even speak to a black teacher? You know, I mean, I've been there and have educators that will speak to me. You know. Yeah. I mean, and it's not personal. You know. Yeah, I mean, I don't walk around with a chip on the shoulder. The thing is, though, we all are there for the goal. The goal is our kids. Yeah. And when you think about like community and you think about Charlottesville, you got a lot of people who move in from different areas. Yeah. And so the investment is not our kids, because many are outsiders from our neighborhoods and from our community, from our areas. I mean, come from completely different states, whether they've traveled here by way of their spouses, you know, at UVA, or whether they've traveled here by way of UVA themselves or any other college, you know. And so the investment is not like, you know, that's not the default. It's like,
So I think that when it comes, you just said it, because I was also looking at police officers that, you know, have the same problem. That when we talk about the CSOs, the officers inside
the SROs, or the CSAs. Well,
which one is inside the school?
We have CSAs now. They're not police officers. They're hired by the city. They just, you know,
do they got handcuffs?
No. So you must be talking about the SROs, security resource officer.
Well, for our see how I didn't even know the difference between the two. So for our children, it's an officer. It's the law. Right. It's the feds. It's the ops. It's the whatever they want to call it. Right. Yeah. So at that point, if I don't feel comfortable in the classroom, right, and truancy becomes my thing, and I go out into the hallway knowing that the opposition is out there, I'm going to carry a certain chip on my shoulder. So now I came to school. I might wanted to be there, might didn't want to be there, right, you know. but I get inside the classroom and I might feel that the teacher is treating me a certain way. Now I got to go outside here and deal with the officers of whatever form or fashion. And now I got to carry myself because I'm in survival mode. Yeah. Now I'm labeled as a child that is unteachable or unlearnable or whatever. Right. So that hamster wheel, because guess what? It's Monday. So guess what? I'm either not going to come to school Tuesday or I'm going to be here. You know, so it's kind of I think some of these kids are using the blessing of the buses not being there and bad weather as a reason for not coming to school. You know, so when we ask the city council, like, what are y'all doing about the schools and the buses and the things of these natures? Because the kids that aren't coming are our community probably. Right. You know what I'm saying? Which means they fall further and further behind. So now where do we grab that thread to start unraveling this? Because all I see is this yarn getting bigger. Yeah.
And I think, I mean, that is the issue with the public education. I mean, that is it. I'll just clarify the CSAs, the care safety assistants. I mean, most of them are black men at our school. So they're not, I mean, they dress like how we are, you know, so their role is to establish a connection, relationship. They're very invested in the community. They know many of the kids, people. So it's like, their job is to, you know, just to help regulate. They're not looked at as like I guess they can be looked at as punitive, but they don't have no real authority to, like, you know, suspend or nothing like that. It's really just, you know, so a lot of the students do connect with the CSAs. But there is imagery where I've heard white students just flat out say, like, you know, they look like security officers. They look like they're scary, intimidating, you know, or they're too black. They're too black. I mean, you know, dapping the kids up and all that. Yeah. I said, with the CSA, they're everybody. They're not just the CSA for black students. They're everybody's CSA. Right. You know, and so
do CSAs involved in PWIs?
What? Well,
like,
have they come
over at like some of these? I don't want to call private schools because I don't want them to come against the show. But they even have,
or like
those?
Western? Does Western Alma have?
Or Monticello or St. Anne's? Or I mean, because there's certain things that are developed for black baby daddy is developed for black men. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Right. Even though the original unfit baby daddy don't look like us. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Right. So there are certain things that I think that we think that we're helping because we can get financial assistance for that actually stifle the growth of what we're really trying to do. But nobody stands up because if we don't allow this, then we don't get no money for nothing. Right. And that's one of the problems I have with the administration.
Yeah, but that's a good question.
They sell their souls too much to me.
But I want to make sure we don't lose the question. Like, are you aware of if the talk about CSAs and SROs go on like for schools in general, or does it seem to be where there's high black density?
Yeah. I mean, it goes like what I was telling you earlier. The 1940s, early 1950s. Flint, Michigan, Fresno, California. Like, that's where the whole thought and the idea of SRO come from.
But where does it continually go?
But there were brown people though. But it was more brown or black students. I think that's why.
Oh yeah.
So that answers your question.
It continues to be. You can look at a lot of the research with SROs. You will see that it continued to marginalize. I mean, it continued to be negative impact on, you know.
So we're willingly bringing racism into the schools.
Well,
how you gonna answer that? Okay, all right.
It's hard to say you're bringing something, you know.
So they just come on their own. No contracts were written. Nobody was contacted. Like,
I'll say this. Some would argue that you know that the public school system still has those roots in systemic racism. Absolutely, like it's not bringing; it's already there. Okay. Some would argue. That's what I'm saying.
Gotcha.
You know, we look at anybody. They look at it. You take most of your public schools. They'll tell you there's 2 or 3 schools in one. There's tracking. Kids get there's tracking. We got no child left behind. You know. I mean, that's federally funded, but it's also schools have to perform in a certain way to continue to get federal funding. You know, standardized testing. That's when a lot of this was initiated. Right. But some would argue the schools are already tracked. Yeah, I mean, you know, when students that try to get into, you know, advanced classes and all the, you know, these different high level classes, you're tracked when you get into elementary school.
Yeah.
And so you're just funneled in a certain way.
Yeah. And we definitely appreciate you hanging out with us. And like I want to make sure that we get to a couple other topics that came up in this conversation. Like one being night school.
Okay.
Because I know like that you're an integral part of that.
Right.
And you may or may not know it, but like there's some folks who don't see the benefit of it. So I want you to kind of like let the people know what and who night school is for. But before you get to that though, to just finish up on what we were just talking about. When you look at even gifted classes and courses, some people say like that even separates kids further in an unfair way, right? Like so, I'm curious about those kind of programs. You know, when you look at those and you look at like the achievement and tied to that, I'm trying to lump it together. The pressure, because at one point we went from a country that trained to be producers and owners and manufacturers to where like we're just workers,
right?
And like the pressure was you got to go to college,
right?
And you got to get a job. While other countries were creating like the business owners and the creators, you know what I mean, the developers. So I'm curious, is that pressure alleviated at all in school? You feel, or like can kids go to community college, go to trade school, go to whatever? You don't have to go to college.
It's living the American dream.
Yeah.
That's the whole fallacy. How does it look? We have this this mindset to think that every student they have to get this every student gotta go to college and we still, our educational system is still it's very similar to how it was during the Industrial Revolution, how it kind of, we still have this assembly line approach and the bell ringing of all, and there's no really we need like real education reform to give kids the opportunity to do those trades, to how many people go to college, they get a degree, and then they go to a workforce and don't even use the degree to I got my nephew, he graduated with he went to HBCU, graduated, right now he's got back to get his graduate. But he's, it's like he's looking at different opportunities that may not coincide with his degree.
Right.
Many people are crossing over into education as teachers, but they went to school for something else. Entrepreneurs. You talk about people who are felons. I mean, they got to fight tooth and nail to try to come back into society to get assimilated back in. If they don't come in as an entrepreneur, and small businesses, trucking, different things and different ways to but we don't hear about that. Even military. I did military. Whatever people's position is on that, but it's still it's an option.
It's an option.
And so being able to present different options to students instead of tracking them, having them take class in high school that is not going to be meaningful. It's like I always say, of course I teach math. At the end of, I don't remember a lesson that teachers taught me in high school. I remember how they made me feel. These kids, they're not going to leave remembering the Pythagorean theorem.
Right.
I mean, they're not going to know slope intercept. If so, they can Google it. So we're putting.
I don't know what you're talking
about. But it's like the thing is though, how did I make them feel? What was the imprint? Night school is one of those alternative. I don't want to use the word alternative. It's another attempt. And a way to educate our kids, away from the stigma. It's a smaller setting. A lot of kids can function well at a school of 1,500 kids. Right. All these moving parts, all these different classes. It's 3 hours a day, 3:45 to 6:45. It's a way where people think they're like night school was created because we had fights and all that stuff. No, this talk was been in the works. The conversation was been in the works so that it can offer ways where the kids another way. You think about a senior who only got a few credits that they need to take. Could they tap into night school being on this online platform, being able to accelerate classes, work during the day and come do your class at night. This whole night school is supposed to be comprehensive, that eventually it'll be literacy, financial literacy, educational literacy to help parents. That they will come.
Oh, that's awesome.
Simultaneously to get learn even programming.
You said it's in-person and online options?
No, so the program that they do the education on, it's an online platform where the teachers just facilitate, where they can kind of log in. They can do it And so Charmaine, she works at the night school. A few others, Melvin Grady, he works at night school.
That's awesome. Yeah, shout him out.
I mean, we work the shift, and then we're going to give some more time and hours to Holly Faulkner. Yeah. She's at night school.
Yeah.
And we we love
y'all.
it.
Appreciate y'all, man. Mr. Patterson, man, you got to come back. Man, this was awesome. This was awesome, bro. But like we only got 1 minute left. But even if you took 30 seconds, like I want you to close because I think people appreciate you being here today. And I want, like the community is listening.
Right.
So as you prepare to go back to school tomorrow, like what would be your closing word to the Charlottesville community? Yeah,
my thing is connection is key. There's no one size fit all approach to any of our students. Receive the students from a fresh perspective. Mm-hmm. Don't use the negative stereotypes and the stigma of whatever. Give the kids a try. Believe in the kids, and that's my thing. Like, give them hope. You got to give it to them. Don't just say it to them. You got to give them hope, and inspire just believe in them. And everybody got to do their part. Everybody. That's right. And don't feed into the negative, stigma that all the naysayers.
That's right.
Thank y'all so much. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Well done.
Yes, indeed.
Well done.
IMHO Talk Show.